Okay, well, it is about 10 o'clock to my watch's message. And so I think I'm going to just start by welcoming you, and people will drift in. Welcome to dear friends and possibly new friends, and to those of you who are watching this on a recording. I'm so glad that you have given yourself this time to reflect and learn about a topic that is difficult for many of us. And yet, grief is a part of life, as I'm sure you found. And so, how wonderful that there are tools to help us with what can really be a difficult journey. So, I will tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through some reflections about grief, and then I'm going to tell you a bit about heart rhythm meditation before I lead you through a 10-minute meditation using heart and breath. And then we'll have a bit of time for questions and answers at the end. So see if you can save your questions for that and maybe write them down as they come to you, so that we can keep the flow going. And so just settle in as I'm welcoming you. Settle in and be here. Let's do that by taking a few deep breaths, and maybe in through your nose and out with a big sigh, because that helps us really regulate our nervous system and let go of anything that is in your way, anything that is on your mind right now, so that you can be completely here. So let's do 3 of those. Just let whatever sound come out wants to come out. And inhale again. Feels good to me to just let go. And one more. Okay, so now I'm going to be sharing my screen, and Elena will help with slides in the background. You don't see her, but she will help out. And if you're on your computer, especially, you can see the division between all the little faces on the right and the screen on your left. And if you place your cursor right at that division, you can slide them and adjust how much of your screen shows the slide and how much of it shows the people. If you're on a phone or iPad, that might be harder, but I thought I would just give you that option if you want to play with that. So now I'll share my screen. Let's start with the slides, Elena. So this is a heart-based approach to grief. And let's go to the first slide. So first of all, let's just acknowledge that grief is kind of everywhere right now. It's in the field. There's so many different kinds of losses that everyone I know is going through. There are personal losses. Maybe you come to this with one of those or more of those. And there is societal change and disruption and collective trauma from war and violence around us. And so there's grief everywhere, and some of it we're aware of, and some of it works on us kind of in hidden ways. And so some of you are here because of a specific loss, and others of you, maybe you're carrying grief, but it's just harder to pinpoint. And some of you are here bearing witness to external events that are really heavy on your heart. And I would just say, let's welcome all of it today to this. All of it belongs here. So, next slide. So the first point is everybody walks a different path with grief. It just doesn't look the same for all of us. And so there's no right response to it and no wrong response to it. And secondly, we're not here to fix it. You may have well-meaning family and friends who try to fix you and try to encourage you to just get over whatever grief you're carrying. And my experience is we usually don't get over it. What happens is we learn to carry it. And the only way I have found to be really effective to carry it and discover a way forward is through the heart. So next slide. So just some examples of personal and collective grief that we're talking about. Certainly the loss of a loved one is an obvious example. But maybe more subtle is the loss of a feeling you may have had in the past of certainty, of a map ahead of you, of knowing what's coming or knowing that you're planning something that's likely to come true. It's kind of like having solid ground in front of us and maybe a trail ahead that we can see. And some of that, many of us have lost that feeling now. It's a real loss. And all of these can lead us to just be wondering, who am I? And or who am I going to be, particularly if you've lost some of your health and are facing challenges, or if you've lost a marriage, where am I going next? Who am I now? Or even if your children are leaving home and you have an empty nest, what's my purpose now? Who will I be? And all of these are worthy of grief. And then, of course, there's the collective that we've talked about that has to do with increased violence in our world, a lot of uncertainty and instability of governments and laws and norms. And then there's the huge environmental crisis that threatens all of us in conscious and unconscious ways. So, next slide. So how does all this feel to you? It can certainly make you feel isolated and alone, especially if you feel that other people don't really understand. Sometimes if you've had a personal loss, they probably can't understand. They probably don't understand. They may want to, but that still leaves you feeling isolated and probably overwhelmed. I have certainly had that with overwhelming feeling, and again, a disorientation of who am I with all of this going on, and where am I? Where is the solid ground? And so even this can all happen even if we're surrounded by a good support system, by people who care. It can still feel lonely. Next slide. So you've probably all heard of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her stages of grief, and that was a very helpful contribution on her part many years ago, and it still is in the sense that all of these things, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, all of these can be a part of our journey, but they don't seem to happen in a rational or dependable order. Instead, they pop up at different times and make it hard maybe to hold all of these feelings. And it's helpful to name all the feelings, but that's different from just having to deal with them inside and in your world. So next slide. So many times, we're a mind-oriented culture. And so many times we want to take all of these challenges of grief on with our mind. We want answers, we want explanations, we want closure. But grief is not a logical thing. And it just doesn't seem to work to kind of think your way through it. You try to think your way through it and solve it as if it's a problem that needs to be solved. And when that fails, it kind of forces you into feeling it in your heart. So next slide. The good news is that the heart has the capacity to hold much more than the mind can hold. The heart has a tremendous capacity, and it does not try to solve our problems, if you've noticed that. It doesn't try to solve our feelings or fix our feelings. And our heart can hold connections beyond form. So, for instance, if you've lost someone and if you believe that life continues after death in some form, that person that you lost is no longer in form. They're no longer in their body. You can't see them and touch them and you miss them. But in your heart can hold a connection with them, which can be very comforting. So probably the biggest thing is the heart's ability to hold paradox. Our mind is just not fond of paradox. Paradox meaning that sometimes we feel love and pain at the same time. Is that possible? Probably not for the mind. It wants to name which one it is. But the heart can hold both those. It can hold anger and devotion. So, for instance, I lost a daughter. I'll be telling you about this. And many times I was angry with her behavior in different ways. And I also was tremendously devoted to her. So in my grief journey, I kind of had to hold the paradox that I could still feel anger at her, maybe anger for her dying, and also feeling totally devoted. And we can feel loss and sadness at the loss and also gratitude at the same time. Gratitude that we had the time that we did with this person, or with this condition of certainty that we used to have, or with this identity that we had that seems to be changing, or whatever. We can feel the loss and also feel gratitude. And we can feel sadness and joy. This one was hard in my own grief journey. How could I be feeling joy? Am I allowed to feel joy when I feel so much sadness and when this devastating thing just happened? Well, I hope so, because that might be my saving grace. And so when we're in our hearts, we find that sadness and joy can actually sit at the same table. So next slide. So I'm sure that you've discovered that if you did not love what you lost, you wouldn't be grieving it. So your grief is proof that you loved this person, or that you loved this state of health that you used to have and feel that you've lost, or this certainty about your life that you miss right now so much, whatever, or the peace that you used to feel abiding in the world that you don't feel anymore. All those things are proof of your love. And through practices of really activating the heart, our love can grow and become a kind of saving grace for all the other feelings. So I invite you to just be with all that for a few minutes, and reflect on your own experience. And either close your eyes and reflect, or make some notes about what came up for you. What has your own experience been? Okay, let's go to the next slide. So I thought I'd just share a little bit about my own journey. My beloved elder daughter, Laura, passed away 2 years ago in February after an 8-year journey through breast cancer. She was the fourth generation, so my mother and grandmother had both died of breast cancer. I've had it twice, and so my grief journey felt really tricky because I felt like, what am I doing here when she's gone? I'm about to be 83, so I've led a wonderful life. Take me. So I don't know whether to name that anger or confusion or wondering, but that certainly that question has been part of my journey. And I'd say at the beginning, even though I had had two kinds of grief, really, anticipatory grief, because when someone's very ill and you suspect they're going to die, or you know they're going to die, there's anticipatory grief. And I kind of was hoping that that would really help with the grief after, and it really didn't, because having her gone was different than suffering with her illness. Both really hard, but different. So when she was actually gone, I'd say the grief was piercing. It was raw. It was, a friend told me, you're in shock right now. And maybe the whole first year you might be in shock. And I look back and think, maybe that's true. Maybe I was. But it certainly was a raw kind of big waves of emotion coming through, unexpected, might be in the line at the grocery store, inconvenient waves of intense grief. Then I had to go through anger, as I mentioned, anger about we had a complex relationship. Most very close relationships are, and I was extremely close to my daughter, unusually close, I would say. We worked together, so there were lots of ways that I missed her horribly. And I still felt angry at the way she treated me sometimes. And that didn't feel okay to me. I felt like I shouldn't feel that way, but I did. So there was that. And I didn't really feel the anger at God that some people do. For some reason, I didn't feel like, why did you take her? But I did feel wondering. So there was this wondering, not knowing, not understanding. Why would she be taken when she still had so much to give? And all of that has given way over time to really melting into a tremendous love and devotion to her and to my continuing relationship with her, which I do feel I have, a relationship with her without form. And I have such gratitude for the time I had with her. And I'm moving forward using that gratitude as part of my own legacy. And there's more I could say about that. But right now, I think that's enough. So, next slide. I guess I will say before I start that one more time that a big part of my grief journey has been my relationship to I Am Heart and to this practice that I'm about to share with you. I think that throughout my grief journey, really the last 10 years, I have needed a saving grace. And my creativity and different activities I do are one form of a saving grace. But this right here is another saving grace. Without this practice of heart rhythm meditation, without this practice that has, as my daughter put it, given me solid ground under my feet, given me a firm foundation for my inner life. Without that, I don't know where I would be right now. That's really my big saving grace. And so is the community that came out of my studying this in depth, really since 2009. I have a wonderful community now. So we'll just start with the overview of heart rhythm meditation. So let's go to the next slide. So heart rhythm meditation, or HRM, is a practice of meditation that was developed by Susanna and Paran Bear, and it's taught at their organization that they founded, I Am Heart. It's based on ancient meditation traditions, but it is it has been designed for our lives in this era. And there are some things that make it unique, different from other forms of meditation that you may have experienced. So in this one, you're focusing on your heartbeat. The main difference that has been so helpful to me is this is an embodied practice. Instead of leaving your body as you do sometimes in transcendental forms of meditation, you use the body's own rhythms and emotions to connect with internal sensations, with energy. We'll be talking about that, and emotions. And it focuses all your emotions in a way that improves your emotional regulation and the regulation of your nervous system, which is so important in this day and age. And it develops what you might call heart qualities, things like compassion and courage and joy and power and resilience, things that I need a lot in this day and age. Next slide. So in heart rhythm meditation, we bring our focus to our heart. In some other forms of meditation, the focus is more on the third eye, which takes us out of our body in a way into a very blissful state, which I remember having done those forms of meditation. But in this one, we are looking down with our inner eye at the physical organ of the heart. And while focusing there, we breathe in counts based on the number of heartbeats. I'm going to be leading you through this, remember. And we visualize breathing in through the heart. So even though we know that we're breathing in through our nostrils, in this meditation form, we visualize breathing as if the breath were coming right through your chest into your heart. And this attention makes the heartbeat feel stronger. Okay, next slide. So breathing is a big part of heart rhythm meditation. Heart rhythm meditation involves different controls of our breath in order to achieve different results. So, first of all, usually we're not really conscious of breathing. We can breathe day and night without being aware of it. And so in this meditation, we're using a conscious breath. Then we establish a rhythm to our breath, which helps us feel balanced. And we use a full breath. Normally, most of us breathe really shallowly. We're just kind of often breathing like this. And it feels so wonderful to the body to take in a full breath and let the breath out all the way. And then when we use a swinging breath, that is the one that comes in through our heart and then is exhaled through our heart, we're unlocking tremendous power that the heart has. So other meditation methods involve watching, observing, witnessing. Those are all valuable. But in this one, you are in control, and you'll see what I mean. So next slide. One difference in HRM is posture is very important. So I'll be leading you through this, but the posture is sitting up straight with your feet on the ground. So you can have a pillow behind your back if you want, but you want your spine to be straight because it, first of all, can give you a feeling of kind of your own divinity, your own royalty, your own pharaoh nature or goddess nature. And your hips can be at the same level or below your pelvis, and this supports your upright spine, which kind of becomes like an antenna between heaven and earth. And this posture allows for energy to flow fully throughout the whole body. Next slide. Okay, this one is a bit dense, so don't worry if you don't want to take in every bit of this, but this slide really shows the differences, some differences between meditations based on the mind and this one that is based on the heart. So in mind-centered meditation, you're trying to get rid of thoughts. You're trying to dismiss thoughts. And in heart-centered meditation, you're experiencing different thoughts and emotions while you're meditating. And in the mind meditations, you're an observer. You're watching your thoughts and emotion. And here, you're an active participant. You're engaged with your life, with all the things you're feeling and thinking. So in mind-based meditations, your leaders are your inspiration. And in heart meditation, you're feeling your devotion to your loved ones, your beloveds, as an inspiration. Often in mind meditation, sometimes your imagination takes you into escaping what is going on at the moment, which is great as long as the meditation lasts. But what I've found is then when you come back to it, all of it is still there. So in this form, you're exploring the reality of your life, what you really know about it. So in some mind-based meditations, there's a separation that takes place between the mind and body and spirit. And the goal of heart rhythm meditation is in synthesizing, unifying all of this because we are everything. So the best way to explain this for me was always that before I studied this, I was meditating up. That is, I was pretty able to go up into a form of bliss that, as I said, was wonderful as long as it lasted, but it didn't always help me with my life. And the biggest difference for me is this form of meditation is meditating down. You're pulling the wealth of the universe down into your body and into your heart and into your life. So instead of detachment or distancing yourself from your desires, from your pains, you're attaching and focusing on everything that you are. Okay, next slide, please. So Paran and Susanna Baer, if you don't know about them, are two remarkable teachers who have been practicing and teaching for many decades. They met their teacher in the 70s and studied deeply in the Sufi tradition, which, if you know anything about Sufism, is not really a religion. It is a tradition that evolved from Islam, but one that embodies and combines all religions and welcomes all religions. And they adapted these teachings for people living today who may or may not be religious, but who may want to bring their own traditions into their studies. So they've taught worldwide, trained thousands of students. They've been featured in all kinds of books and courses, and also research on heart health and stress reduction. So the simple belief is that when you heal and strengthen your heart, you heal your life. And the bonus is you can help heal the world around you. So, next slide. So part of what you learn when you begin to study heart rhythm meditation is that it's based on elements. And so there are different breaths that help with different elements. So there's a water breath. When we began, I encouraged you to take a breath in through your nose and out through a slightly open mouth, and that's what we call a water breath. And the water breath can release trapped tears. Sometimes maybe what you're feeling in your grief journey is nothing. Maybe you feel numb. You're shocked. And so if you can't feel anything, there are tears trapped in there that maybe you long to release. And so it does release waves of emotion. Well, the fire breath helps us with anger and outrage we may be feeling. Because anger isn't bad, fire isn't bad, right? But it can guide us toward action that is positive rather than violent or harmful to people. And the earth breath helps with that feeling of heaviness and depression, like I just don't even want to get up in the morning, I don't know how I'm going to go on. And it restores a feeling of solid ground under us. And the air breaths help with those racing thoughts and this feeling like, I just want to get out of here. I just want to have this experience be over. I want to be free of it. And it does this by inspiring us with ideas. Okay, next slide. So when you step into the heart, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're contributing to the whole, to the universe. And this is because science has proven that your heart creates an electromagnetic field, an energy field around you that is much bigger than the one created by your mind or by your body. It is the biggest electromagnetic field. And so when you activate it and strengthen it, you create a measurable electromagnetic field that is spreading out there. So you probably know this already because sometimes you might feel the energy from the person standing next to you in the checkout line. Or you might go into a restaurant where you go, this is really a pretty restaurant, but there's something about it that doesn't feel good to me. That's energy. And you are producing energy. And so the more you strengthen the love and the positivity in your own heart, the more you contribute to that field out there that is hungry and thirsty for that love. Next slide. So just to bring this together, this is a practice that helps us all because it reduces our loneliness and isolation. It amplifies coherence, which is the name for the resonance between our breath and our heart that we can control and we can create. And so even in grief, when you contact the heart, you're joining yourself with other people And so you're not alone, and neither are they. So next slide, please. So some of what I've said might sound like maybe this is religious. It's not tied to any dogma. But for many people, grief opens up big existential questions. Who am I? Why is there suffering? What is love? Is there a God? How could there be a God when this just happened or this is happening? All those questions are usually opened up. And this meditation, as I said, increases our energetic awareness, which has spiritual dimensions and gives us a sense of something larger than we are. Next slide. So if you are sensing that there's something sacred going on in your grief journey, Harbor the meditation can help you with finding a deeper connection to your God or spirit or to the one heart. And it can increase your personal abilities for understanding, forgiveness, for compassion. It can heighten your sense of connection with the one heart that is unifying all of our individual we are individual souls that are unique, but we are also one, and it will strengthen your connection with the one. Next slide. So, okay, all that's fine, Pam, but is this the right time for me to be trying this? Maybe it's too soon. I just had a big loss. Or maybe if I'm going to breathe like that, it's going to be too strong. And I don't know if I want to feel all that. So, trust your intuition. You're always in control. You can modulate the intensity. So if it gets intense, you can just open your eyes, go back to normal breathing, take a break. You can say, that's enough for me today. You can stop at any time you want. Next slide. Okay, so now I'm going to lead you through about a 10-minute meditation. Let's see how we're doing here. Okay, we're doing great. So I invite you, first of all, to find the right posture. So position yourself in the chair where you're sitting and try to achieve that straight spine, even if you're supported by a pillow. Straight spine, and be aware of the sitting bones on your chair and your body in the room, and maybe raise your shoulders and then drop them. Release any tension that might be in your jaw, in your face, and just notice any tension in other parts of your body. Look around the room and just orient yourself and notice a few objects around you. Here you are in this space, and you're going to stay right here. So next you might close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. And if you don't want to close them all the way, maybe soften your gaze. And now think of what your intention is. Maybe your intention is just, I just want to try out this kind of meditation and see what it's about. Or maybe I want some guidance about my particular challenges in my grief journey. Whatever it is that comes up for you, that is your intention. And now just notice your breath the way it is, without changing it, without judging it. Just be curious. How am I breathing today? Sometimes it's easier to inhale than it is to exhale, or the reverse. Sometimes I'm breathing really shallowly and fast, and other times more slowly. So that's whatever it is, it's fine. It's where you're starting. So next you might just invite your breath to begin to lengthen and deepen. And in order to do that, to make sure that you exhale all the way, you can squeeze your breath out at the bottom of the breath by tensing your abdominal muscles. And then you'll notice that when the breath is all gone, your inhalation just happens very naturally. And when you're inhaling, just see if you can fill your lungs and feel a pleasure in that filling of your lungs all the way. And then let your breath exhale. And as your breath lengthens and deepens, try counting maybe 1 second, 2 seconds, and just see, be curious, how many seconds approximately does it take for me to do this long inhale, and how many for my long exhale? So it might be 4 seconds, it might be 6 seconds, it might be 8 seconds. There's no good or bad. We're not giving out grades. So now you can release that counting. And next, see if you can locate your heartbeat. Now, some of you might already be able to feel your heart beating within your body. It took me a long time to do that. But if you don't feel that, you could take 2 fingers and put them on the inside of your wrist or on your throat and feel your pulse. So just take a minute to find your heartbeat, however you can do that. And when you find your heartbeat, see if you can count the heartbeats in your inhalation and the heartbeats in your exhalation. See if you can count heartbeats. Maybe it's 4 or 6. Try for 6. Maybe it's 8. Whatever's comfortable right now. And see if you can establish a rhythm of how many heartbeats in an inhalation and how many in an exhalation you can maintain comfortably. Okay, as you do this, this is wonderful because this is resonance, this is coherence between your heart and your breath. This has tremendous benefits on every level. So once you feel like there's a rhythm to this for today, for this moment, let go of counting and worrying about it. Just trust your body to maintain that rhythm and see if you can breathe in through your chest and heart. I know you're really breathing in through your nostrils, but imagine that you are bringing the breath through your chest right into your heart, and then exhaling from your heart out through your chest into that wonderful electromagnetic field that your heart is creating. And try that. And see if you can do it while maintaining the rhythm. If you need to go back to counting heartbeats while you do it, you can do that. You're breathing in the life force into your chest, into your heart. Now, this may bring up emotions. And remember, if it's too much, you can always stop for a minute, open your eyes, return to normal breath, stop completely. But see if you can allow whatever emotions come up. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's numbness, maybe it's tears, maybe it's anger. Maybe it's resistance to this whole thing, a feeling of agitation, like how long is this going to go on? Use your curiosity. And maybe there's gratitude that you can send to your heart. If you think about your heart, just the organ that pumps oxygen to all the cells in your body every day and every night without being asked, we can have gratitude for that. And then if you think of your spiritual heart that holds all of your longings, all of your joys, all of your sadness, all of your outrage, everything that you're feeling, we can thank this brave heart, this heart that has courage, cœur being the French word for heart. Your heart has courage. It's the center where you hold your divine spark, your true self. And exploring it can give you purpose, guidance, a whole treasure chest of benefits. So now just be present with whatever you're experiencing. And I'll give you a few moments of silence. And now let go of the effort to breathe in a certain way and allow your breath to return to its normal rhythm for this moment. And become aware of your body in the chair, your feet on the ground. Maybe move your hands and fingers and toes and maybe your shoulders. And when you're ready, open your eyes and just take a few minutes to be with this experience that you've had. To make any notes you want. To be aware of what you know to be true about grief. the journey, and also to be aware of the unknown, the mystery, the things you don't understand. And also, you might write down any questions you have for me, because in a moment we'll go into time for questions and answers. I'm just happy that we have a tool that's so powerful to offer people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe I'll ask you questions and see if you want to speak to them. Maybe just if anybody wants to share what form of grief you feel you're dealing with right now. You don't have to go into detail, but a personal loss or grief over the collective situation, or feelings of uncertainty or loss of health, or, I'd love to know just what you're carrying. I see, okay, in the chat, let me see in the chat, dealing with anticipatory grief. Yeah, it's a real thing. I know I experienced it, and as I said when we were talking about that, at the time that I experienced anticipatory grief when my daughter was going through cancer that was progressing, I was hoping that at least all the grief I felt would help me with the grief once she was gone. But I found that unfortunately they were different kinds of grief, and that, the one when she was actually gone was much more piercing, much more raw, just a different kind of experience. Yeah. So I see someone lost your son a year ago. I'm so sorry to hear that. Of course, I really resonate with that. Ambiguous grief. Yeah. I'd love to hear more about that if you want to speak about that, Olga, but I know what I think you're saying. There is just sometimes for me, especially at my age, just life has a poignancy about it. There is sad stuff about life, hard stuff about life, and beautiful stuff about life. And so all of that gets squished into something that I think ambiguous grief is a good term for it. So I don't know if I'm speaking to what you're experiencing, but. And then someone else, speaking of health, career, lost a best friend and other friends and family. Pet passed away. Oh, anticipatory grief. Parent with dementia, purpose, loss of dreams. So I just want to say this is like off the charts stress and grief. It's off the chart. It almost demands, when a cluster of things like this happen, that sometimes they do, it almost demands that we really find a way to take care of ourselves. And yet, with all that going on, it must be hard to take care of yourself. Um, so I just hope that this is a tool that will help you take care of your heart, your poor heart that is feeling all of those things. And another person says, my beloved life partner died January 27th after 24 years together. Oh, that gives me chills. That is so hard. I'm so sorry. Yeah. After 24 years together, I'm sure not only are you missing that beloved life partner, but your whole life has changed. Everything is different now. And so a way to move forward becomes really important, I think. Yeah. And Olga, what a beautiful quote that is. Grief is love with no place to go. Oh, love with no place to go. Well, and one response I have to that, just kind of off the cuff, is that actually my experience of heart rhythm meditation is that it does give it a place to go. Because the grief, the love and the grief that I center in my heart and then I send out, remember, helps other people. One of the most helpful things I've heard from someone who has been such a guide to me is, Pam, you're not just doing this for yourself. You're doing this for all mothers who have lost children, or you're doing it for all people who are feeling loss right now. So that gives a sense of purpose at a time that often feels like, what is all this for? What possible use can this be for anyone, for me to be going through this right now, and for this person that I love to have gone through it? So I get that grief is love with no place to go, and I just suggest that this technique just might give it a place to go. Yeah. What a rich discussion, and I'm just so grateful for people coming here carrying so much. So I'd love to hear comments about how the meditation went for you, how the information about the technique and the tool went for you. Things that were hard, or things that were easy, or things you found helpful. Someone asks, is 10 minutes the recommended amount of time for daily practice? Well, I think we begin however we can begin. I had to start with saying, look, if I don't have 5 minutes to give to this, I'm really fooling myself. I have 5 minutes. So I think you start with what you can do, and it tends to lengthen because it deepens and the benefits increase and the dimensions of your heart resonate into your life, which has more than one dimension, right? And so then I think it naturally lengthens. But 10 minutes just felt like a good amount of time to give you an experience of it, a taste of it. No matter how we're behaving, love is what we all want. Usually bad behavior is rooted in a desire to be loved. And so we can not like the behavior, but we can send love to that person as a healing energy. And then we can send it out into the world and direct it. Every morning I send love out to all those in the world who are suffering. I don't know their names. I could name some of the areas and the ways I think they're suffering, but I don't have any idea about all of them. But I can still send my love out to them. And if I believe that that makes a difference, that gives me a way to keep moving forward.
Is one more question, Pam. There was
Oh,
one
good.
earlier I think you might have missed, but I think it's a good way to close out.
Oh,
Do you
good.
practice heart rhythm meditation regularly or mainly when you are overcome by grief? And how do you
Oh,
balance that?
good question. Thank you. I have had to learn to practice it, especially on days when I don't want to. Because on days when I don't want to, it's probably the day I need to the most. And there is something for me about regularly practicing it that I think is what has formed that firm foundation I was talking about. The feeling that, yes, all of these things are swirling around, and yes, I have all these feelings, and there's a firm foundation of a peaceful place within me that is a saving grace. It is a place, it's like that lotus that's rooted in the mud. There's a lot of mud going on, and there's a lotus blooming out of it when I go to the depths of my heart. And I usually can't go to the depths of my heart unless I practice, because we are so trained to be in the mind that, you know, the old saying about it's the hardest 14 inches to travel from here to here. And so it takes practice. So, good question. So, one last chance to ask a question. And otherwise, I just want to thank you for taking this time for yourselves and for exploring. And I send you my love and blessings, and my hope that heart rhythm meditation may be a useful path for you in the future. And if so, I will look forward to seeing you there.